Hello, Daniel here from Breath Behaviour Belief, and I thought what we'd do today is just do a really quick little anatomy lesson on the heart and talk about what we mean by heart disease, what we mean by angina, and what we mean by heart attack or myocardial infarction. It's useful if we use this little model here. I used to use models such as this to explain things to my patients on the cardiac unit just because it helps to have a visual reference. So essentially your heart is a muscle responsible for pumping the blood around your body, very simply. It consists of 4 chambers. You've got 2 atrium, 2 ventricles, left and right side. So all the deoxygenated blood comes back from your body via your veins. Veins carry deoxygenated blood with one exception, and arteries carry oxygenated blood with one exception. The blood comes back via the vena cava, the superior vena cava, and it enters the right atrium. The right atrium, full of deoxygenated blood, then transfers the blood down to the right ventricle. The right ventricle then pumps blood off to your lungs. That's where via the pulmonary artery. So arteries travel away from your heart, veins travel towards your heart. Now, because the blood in your right ventricle is deoxygenated, the pulmonary artery is the only artery which carries deoxygenated blood because it's coming back from the body where it's had all its nutrients stripped. Now it's off to the lungs where it gets filled with oxygen. So the right ventricle contracts, the blood travels off into the lungs. We breathe in. Gaseous exchange takes place, so we offload the carbon dioxide from that blood and we fill it back up with oxygen. The oxygen then travels back into the left side of the heart via the pulmonary vein, which is the only vein to carry oxygenated blood because it's coming back to the heart. That goes into the left atrium. The left atrium then goes down into the left ventricle, and the left ventricle is then thicker and stronger than the right ventricle because it's got to squeeze and contract enough to be able to send the blood all the way around your body through the arterial system under great pressure. So oxygenated blood leaves the heart and shoots off all around your body. Now, that's what the heart does, but the heart is also a muscle. So like all muscles, it needs its own oxygenation, needs its own blood supply, essentially. So if you look close up at this, you can see all these little veins and arteries. The blue ones are the veins because they're carrying deoxygenated blood. The red ones are the arteries because they're carrying the oxygenated blood. That goes around the heart to supply the heart with fresh nutrients and to remove the waste from it. It's its own little system. Now, heart disease, it's a massive killer. I mean, you know, it is huge, the amount of people that suffer from varying degrees of heart disease. Basically refers to the furring up or the changes that occur in the arteries of the heart's blood supply. So that can be in terms of stenosis, where the veins become stiffer and less flexible, the arteries rather become stiffer and less flexible, or in terms of them becoming blocked by plaques or going into spasm. So that is heart disease, you know, an umbrella term referring to the furring up or the clogging and the stiffening of these arteries. Now, angina is a transient thing. So when people exert themselves and they get angina, that's when these arteries are becoming narrower. Blood's still getting through, but there's a narrowing, which is reducing the amount of oxygen and nutrients that get to the heart muscle. So when we exercise, our muscles scream for oxygen, they scream for this gaseous exchange to take place, they scream for the nutrients. If we restrict that supply, it causes pain and discomfort to the muscle because it's not getting what it needs. So that's angina. That's why people with angina, they exert themselves, they get chest pain, and then they usually take the puffer, the GTN spray that they spray under the tongue sublingually, and that helps to open up all the arteries. It helps to dilate the arteries, which is great for increasing blood supply to the heart. Not so good for the rest of the body sometimes, because it can cause all the arteries and veins to dilate, which can cause a crash in blood pressure. So it's a balancing act. Now, angina on its own, we've got two sorts of that. You've got angina and you've got unstable angina. Unstable angina is when this is becoming more unpredictable, pain at rest is happening, and it's not just on exertion, it's not just after that flight of stairs that it happens. Now, how a heart attack or myocardial infarction differs is the complete occlusion of one of these blood vessels, either transiently or completely in that sat. So one of these arteries gets a build-up of plaque and can then go into a state of spasm, or something can trigger it, and that plaque bursts, and then a little clot forms inside the artery, which means that everything south of that artery, all the muscle to the south of that artery, is no longer getting blood supply, it's no longer getting its oxygen, it's no longer getting its nutrients. So that area of the heart below the arterial supply then begins to die. That causes central crushing chest pain in many cases, sweaty, clammy, impending sense of doom. If that's left untreated for long enough, that can then cause the actual death of that section of the heart. And depending on where that is and for how long it happens and how severe it is, that can then cause the heart to go into a funny rhythm and the patient dies. Then treatment options for myocardial infarction are many. It depends whether the occlusion's still there. We can go in, we can thrombolize, so we can thin the blood, we can bust the clot. Or really the gold standard is angioplasty, where they go in through the radial artery, they go up and they have a look at the occlusion, they insert dye into the arteries. They can then see where the blockage is. They go in with a balloon and they open the artery up with a tiny little balloon to create the space to allow the blood to flow back down south to the muscle that's been affected. They can then place a stent. If this is ineffective or this is not possible, if it's a total occlusion, then they can do a bypass graft, which is so crude in its nature. It's always amazed me how crude it actually is. They take a blood vessel from the leg and they attach it above the blockage, and then they take it down and attach it below the blockage. So it literally is just like a motorway bypass that then allows the blood and the nutrients to flow to the affected part of the heart. So yeah, that's the difference between heart disease, which is the umbrella term, angina, which refers to the narrowing of the arteries, and an actual heart attack that is referring to the occlusion of one of these arteries completely, resulting in the death of the muscle beneath the heart. So yeah, if you're looking for support after a heart attack, on a psychological and emotional level, please do get in touch. I'd be happy to help you with that. That's what I do. I bridge the gap between the psychological, the emotional, and the physical. And I look forward to hearing from you. So I hope that's helped you understand the physiology of heart disease, angina, and myocardial infarction a little bit more. Catch you later.